Ever try to picture like a complex sculpture, something really intricate just from looking at a pile of like the raw materials?
Yeah,
Seems kind of impossible,
yeah,
right?
it does.
Well, that's what scientists have been trying to do with proteins for years.
Yeah. Proteins, they're these essential molecules, the real workhorses of our cells.
Right.
And the way they fold into these crazy, complex 3D shapes, it determines how they function.
Yeah.
But figuring out those shapes just from their building blocks, their amino acids, it's been like one of biology's biggest mysteries for a long time.
Yeah, a real head scratcher. So what's changed? Like, have we figured it out? I mean, how has the field changed?
Well, we're getting closer, and a huge part of that is artificial intelligence.
Okay.
AI, specifically an AI called RoseTTAFold. It was developed by researchers at the Baker Lab.
Okay.
And let me tell you, it is making waves in the scientific community.
Yeah.
Big time.
Okay. I am intrigued. How does this thing work? Is it like having this super powered microscope that can actually just see the shape of a protein?
It's actually way cooler than that.
Okay.
RoseTTAFold it uses this 3-track neural network, right?
Okay.
So you can think of it kind of like a team of detectives working a case, all with different expertises.
Okay. I do love a good detective story.
Yeah.
So tell me more about this whole 3-track approach.
All right. So one track looks at the protein sequence. That's just the order of its amino acid building blocks.
Gotcha.
Another track analyzes the predicted distances between those amino acids. So it's kind of like mapping out the distances between clues at a crime scene.
Okay. Okay.
And then the third track, this one's really cool. It focuses on the 3D structure of the protein, and it refines its understanding as it gets more information.
So it's like this AI is designed to work as a team, right? Like all these brilliant minds working together. But is it really that accurate? Protein folding is incredibly complex.
It is, but you're right to be impressed because RoseTTAFold is achieving accuracy levels that are comparable to AlphaFold 2,
Okay.
which was a huge breakthrough in the field. We're talking unprecedented levels of accuracy here in predicting protein structures.
So that's really impressive. But how is this helping us, in the real world? Does this mean we're on the verge of curing diseases or something?
Well, not quite yet, but we are seeing some really cool applications of this technology.
Okay.
So, for example, think about the techniques that scientists use to actually figure out the structure of proteins in the lab, right? We've got things like X-ray crystallography, cryo-electron microscopy. These are powerful tools, but sometimes the data they produce is it's blurry or it's incomplete, like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle with missing pieces.
Right, right.
And RoseTTAFold is finding those missing pieces.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for example, scientists were really struggling to determine the complete structure of a bacterial surface layer protein and also a fungal secreted protein using traditional methods. These proteins are important for, for understanding how bacteria interact with their environment, how we could develop new antibiotics, things like that.
Right. And RoseTTAFold solved it, like helped
Yeah.
solve the mystery.
RoseTTAFold was able to predict those structures with really remarkable accuracy, filled in those missing pieces of the puzzle, gave scientists a much clearer picture.
Wow. So it's really changing, like revolutionizing how researchers are approaching these problems.
Yeah.
But it's not just X-ray crystallography, right? You mentioned cryo-EM earlier.
It helps there too.
It does. So cryo-EM is another technique that we use to visualize these proteins. But it can be, imagine trying to rebuild a vase from a million pieces, right?
Right.
It can be really, really difficult. But RoseTTAFold is like having a guide, or even better, like a blueprint to help put all those pieces back together.
Okay, so it's helping to make sense of this data that would otherwise be super difficult to interpret. Yeah, it's bringing this incredible level of clarity, and it's really accelerating discoveries in a way that we haven't really seen before.
It's fascinating, but I have to ask, like, what about diseases? I know that understanding the structure of proteins is so crucial for, developing new drugs, therapies, all of that. So is RoseTTAFold, is it making a difference there?
Oh, absolutely. And that's where things get really exciting.
Oh,
Absolutely. And that's where things get really exciting. Take, for example, this protein complex called PI3K.
Okay.
It's super important for like cell growth and
Right.
But when things go wrong with PI3K, it can lead to diseases, even things like cancer.
Yeah, now that's a pretty big deal. So how did RoseTTAFold help in this case?
Well, researchers were having a tough time, getting a really clear picture of its structure using just cryo-EM. But RoseTTAFold swooped in and helped them build a much more complete detailed model. It's like giving them this high-resolution map of this really crucial protein complex.
Okay, and having that map makes a big difference when you're trying to develop new drugs and stuff to target it.
Huge. Yeah, it's like the difference between having, just a rough sketch of a city
Right.
versus a detailed satellite image. That level of detail it's invaluable.
Yeah, makes total sense. So what about other diseases? Are there other examples where RoseTTAFold is really giving researchers this leg up?
Yeah, definitely. There's a really interesting case with this protein called TANGO2.
Okay.
Mutations in this protein, they can cause like some serious metabolic disorders, but its exact role has been a bit of a puzzle.
Mm.
Right.
Okay, so it was like a biological mystery guest.
Yeah.
Did RoseTTAFold unmask its true identity?
Exactly. Yeah, so RoseTTAFold, it predicted that TANGO2 structure, it resembles a group of enzymes called NTN hydrolases.
Okay.
Now, enzymes, think of it like tiny little molecular machines that speed up these chemical reactions in our bodies.
Right.
And in hydrolases, we know they break down certain types of molecules.
Okay, so RoseTTAFold helped researchers I don't know, categorize it, give them a starting point to understand how it works and what goes wrong when it's not functioning the way it should.
Exactly. And get this, by mapping those disease-causing mutations onto the predicted structure,
Okay.
researchers can start to see how those mutations might actually be messing up its function,
Wow.
which could lead to new ways to diagnose and treat those metabolic disorders.
That's amazing. It's like having this molecular level view of what's actually happening in these diseases. But I know that proteins don't just work by themselves, right? They interact with other proteins to carry out these really complex tasks in our body.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. And believe it or not, RoseTTAFold can actually predict the shapes of those protein complexes.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah.
So it can predict how proteins interact with each other.
Mm-hmm. It's really incredible. It's like going from, predicting the structure of individual buildings to understanding how a whole city is laid out.
Wow, yeah.
And knowing that, how they interact, it's crucial for understanding how our cells function and designing drugs that can actually target those specific interactions.
Okay, so give me an example. How is RoseTTAFold shedding light on these really complex protein relationships?
Sure. So one impressive case involves these proteins that are like key players in our immune system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got the IL-12 receptor and its binding partner, IL-12.
Okay.
Now this dynamic duo, it is essential for fighting off infections.
Right.
And understanding how they interact is really important, especially for developing new immunotherapies.
Okay, so what did RoseTTAFold reveal about this immune system power couple?
So previous studies, they'd given us, kind of a blurry glimpse of this complex using cryo-EM.
Oh.
But RoseTTAFold, it provided this much sharper, much more detailed view.
Okay, so it's upgrading from those old fuzzy security camera images to high-def footage.
Yeah, and with that clearer picture, what RoseTTAFold showed us was this really crucial interaction between two specific amino acids. Those building blocks we've been talking about, one on the IL-12 protein and the other on the IL-12 receptor. And this interaction helps explain how these two proteins, they stick together so tightly.
It's like RoseTTAFold helped researchers uncover the secret handshake between these two vital immune system players.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really interesting from a therapeutic standpoint, because now that we know how they interact with this level of precision, scientists can start to design drugs that actually block that interaction.
Okay.
Which could potentially, dampen down the immune response in cases where it's overactive, like in autoimmune diseases.
So this isn't just about understanding disease. It's about potentially treating it in a whole new way.
Exactly. And it really highlights the incredible potential of this tool of RoseTTAFold and AI to really revolutionize medicine. But I'm sure you're wondering, how does it actually do it? How does it predict these complex structures with such accuracy?
Yeah, you read my mind. What's the secret sauce here? Yeah, you read my mind. What's the secret sauce here?
Well, it goes back to that that 3-track neural network we were talking about.
Right.
That's a big part of it. It basically allows RoseTTAFold to look at the protein sequence, the distances between the amino acids, and that emerging 3D structure all at the same time.
Okay.
It's like juggling multiple pieces of information all at once,
Right.
and somehow RoseTTAFold manages to keep it all straight.
So it's seeing those connections, those subtle relationships that other methods might kind of miss.
Exactly. Plus, it's been trained on like a massive amount of data. I mean, we're talking tons and tons of known protein structures and sequences.
Okay.
It's like imagine giving someone a crash course in protein folding, but instead of a few textbooks, they get to like devour an entire library.
So it's not just about like brute force calculations or anything like that. There's a real learning process happening here. It's picking up on patterns, trends in the data.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes it so adaptable, so powerful. I mean, we're talking about a tool that can help solve those tricky X-ray crystallography puzzles. It can predict the shapes of these really complicated protein complexes. It can give us insights into, the mechanisms of diseases.
Right.
And to think we're only just scratching the surface of what this thing can do.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you really think about it. It seems like we're entering this new era of scientific discovery.
Yeah.
And AI like this is really leading the charge.
It really does feel that way. This technology, it has the potential to revolutionize, not just structural biology, but so many other fields: drug discovery, personalized medicine, even things like material science. Right. Think about a future where we can design like completely new proteins,
Right.
with tailor-made functions
Yeah.
to tackle some of the world's biggest challenges.
It's like something out of science fiction. Like we could design proteins to fight off diseases or clean up pollution or even, like you said, create entirely new materials that we haven't even, dreamed of yet.
Exactly. And this paper that we've been talking about, highlighting the capabilities of RoseTTAFold.
Right.
That's a perfect example of how AI is pushing those boundaries, opening up this whole new world of possibilities. It's a really exciting time to be in science.
It is. It's an exciting time, and it really leaves me with this sense of wonder, and a whole lot of questions about what the future holds. What other mysteries are we going to unravel? What kind of breakthroughs are just around the corner? But one thing is for sure, with tools like RoseTTAFold in our arsenal, it seems like that future of scientific discovery is looking very bright.
It really is.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us for this deep dive. It was incredible.
It was my pleasure.
I know. I learned a ton, and I hope you did too. Until next time.